Hey, this is Cam, and I am with a great friend, Emmett Williams from Myzone. Emmett, I want you to share your title and stuff. But Emmett, introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your company.
Well, thank you for having me, Cam. Really appreciate the time and the invite. Yep, Emmett Williams. I'm the president of Myzone and one of the founding partners. I hail from Australia, but I've been living here in the United States for almost 10 years now. And the reason I came over was to launch Myzone almost 10 years ago. Yeah, here we are now.
Great. I'm a big Myzone advocate. Our YMCA's used the product, and also a big fan of Emmett's. Here's a guy that I invited to speak at my meeting last year, and he took the red-eye cross-country, spoke, and hopped on his plane and flew back home to California all in one day. And that was so appreciated by the leaders in the room. And then on top of that, just knocked it out of the park. And so we could have had all day with you is what the feedback that the rest of the CEOs shared, that you were just one of the best presenters, and it was just so timely. And so knowing all that is, and knowing how smart you are, is one of the reasons I wanted to get you involved and just talk. So share a little bit with people who will watch this. How are you leading Myzone through what's going on today?
Yeah, good question, because the first few weeks of COVID was obviously mayhem for everyone. There were layoffs, there were furloughs, it was all about cash flow statements and all that yucky stuff. And of course, there was fear being running through the staff group. About 10 days ago now, we tried to change gear, and we tried to move from a defensive posture into an offensive posture. And the way we did it was by running a Shark's Tank internally. So I went out to the team. We have 90 employees around the world. I went out to the team and said, okay, guys, if you could not change the product, right? If you had to take the existing product and parachute it into a separate market, so not fitness facilities, but into some other market, what market would it be? And then I followed up with 6 questions like, how big is the market, and what problem would it solve, and what is the biggest encounter that you would foresee? So I gave them a template, and I gave them 2 minutes to present it on a Zoom call. And we had different Zoom calls going on, and they could have slides. And so we had a stopwatch and said, right, go for it. And we heard from every single one of our employees what they thought would be an offensive play for Myzone. Then what we did was we had their peers vote, and we voted using an ICE score. So that would be impact, confidence, and ease. So on a scale of 0 to 10, the impact, the confidence that it would work, and then also the ease, that number would add up to 30. And then we stack ranked all the ideas and said, guys, based on all the ideas that you've heard, albeit only 2 minutes of content, based on all those ideas and based on your scoring, these are the ideas that have been garnering the votes. From there, a lot of the ideas had almost siblings or cousins of each other. They were sort of in the same cluster. And so we put them in clusters, and the top 3, we turned around to the winners who contributed the idea and said, okay, now work as a team and develop a 1-page business plan for us to execute on this. Those ideas are sitting in my inbox at the moment. The next step, and it won't be for another week or 2 because we've got other priorities right now, but the next step will be to pick up that business plan and say, guys, this is what you ideated. This is what you voted on. This is the plan that you guys developed. Now let's go get it. And an example of that would be reaching out to colleges and engaging students in exercise through a social platform to keep their morale high and to keep them moving and exercising. And there's a lot of colleges in the US. So, that's a huge market that we could go after.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. So 90 employees, did you get 90 responses?
Yeah, look, we in America, I didn't go on the international ones. They're doing them independently. But in America, we've got about half the employees here, and I listened to every single one of them. Yep.
Wow, that's
and
great.
So did their peers. Yeah, you should have seen the Zoom screen. It had we had like 25 in each group, and 25 times 2 minutes. It's only an hour, but we got through them all.
Yeah. So, how do you think? Tell us what's your take on how the fitness world is going to come out on the backside of this?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. I think we all have. How do we position for the new normal, particularly as it relates to fitness? And I believe, rightly or wrongly, that the consumer is now exposed to what's possible. They know that virtual fitness is a thing. They know they can do exercise in their lounge room. There are people that weren't runners that are all of a sudden runners, and they realize that they can go running. There are members of ours who got their mountain bike out of the garage and realized that there's a wonderful trail out the back, and they can get 45 minutes of cardio done without driving to the gym, finding a park, so on and so forth. And so therefore the options and the substitutes to what we do have opened up. For some members, I think those other options will be a substitute. Members will sit there and say, you know what, instead of going to the gym, I'm going to do this. For others, it will be a supplement. In addition to going to the gym and lifting weights and doing class, I'm going to top up my cardio by getting on that mountain bike on a Friday morning and doing that 1 hour loop and getting back. I don't normally work out on a Friday, but now I'm going to work out on a Friday because all of a sudden it's possible. So some members will be substituting, some members will be supplementing. And I think the challenge for operators is to say, okay, how do we remain the authority in the mind of the consumer? How do we embrace it and not fight it? And how do we say to the member, it's okay to supplement what we do inside the four walls here. In fact, we'll give you a program around it. In fact, we'll send the content to your living room. In fact, we will remain so engaged with you that exercise and your exercise routine over the course of the month could be at our club, it could be in your lounge room, it could be on that mountain bike trail, and we don't care. We just want you to move and exercise. And if we can be the authority and the motivator and the prescriber and the advisor, then you're not going to leave us. And we don't need to be threatened by digital or by analog type of substitutes.
What are you doing health-wise for your personal health?
Yep. Yeah, so this is really interesting. I used to row at school, and before COVID, a total coincidence, I purchased a Concept 2 rowing machine because I knew that I was getting busy and I just needed to do a bit more cardio. And where I'm located, I'm on a hill, and so I really have to drive down to get to the beach to go for a run. So I had this Concept 2 that arrived 1 week before COVID kicked in. So that was convenient. I've now got a rowing machine here. My wife has an upright bike, and I don't really like spinning or indoor cycling, but I do some top-up cardio. I just listened to a webinar 5 minutes ago, and I listened to the entire webinar about the CARE Act and the stimulus package, and I was on an upright bike in the blue zone, huffing and puffing, listening to it. I go to the beach, and I've also got a trusty TRX rope, and I've learnt some new moves on the TRX rope. So I'm getting it done.
Yeah, and you got an 11 and a 9-year-old, so I'm sure that keeps you busy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. When they were 3 and 5, they could sit on my back when I did a push-up. But now that they're 11 and 9, I'm not sure if they've got heavier or I've got weaker.
So you're one of the great leaders of the world, I think, and just really a smart guy. What advice would you give why leaders right now?
You know what? I truly think that decisions determine the success of our life. That we will pass through life with challenges and opportunities and encounters, and it's all about decision making. Everything is. And therefore, that begs the question, how do we make really good decisions? And as you know, I love, I'm a student of the game. I love learning off other people myself. And last week, I'm in a CEO peer group. And last week, I had a presenter talk about quality decision making. And I'd already had these other concepts around decision making. So what I did was I surmised them into a checklist for me that made sense for me so that I could make quality decisions, knowing that that would determine success going through here. And it'll take me about a minute, 90 seconds to share it with you. And it's a couple of visual concepts. And so the way I explain to both my children that we just spoke of, but also my staff at the office, is that if you've got a problem, first of all, think of it like you are in a room and the room is dark and you cannot see the room. Go and turn the light switch on, the lights will come on, and that is your problem. So the first thing you need to do is switch on the lights. In decision making, that would be write out the problem statement. What is the problem statement? Don't conflate it, don't get confused, write it out. What problem are you dealing with? That would be switching the lights on. Then you would look around the room and you would have a look at all your options to get out of this room that you're locked in. There is a window, there is a door that is locked, but there are children on the other side of it. There is a manhole, but it would require you to do a huge vertical jump to get up through it, and so on. Just list all the options you've got to escape this room. Then, once you've got all those ideas, then you need to go through and decide, all right, which one suits me best? Should I take $50 out of my pocket and put it under the door and get someone to open the other door for me? Should I put my foot through the window? Should I jump up through the manhole? What's the best option? And that's a simple visual to go through this. Now, when you make your decision, there are 4 things to be wary of. These are weaknesses or threats. There is a pig, there is an ape, there is a blind spot, and there is an ego. So the PIG is an acronym for pursue instant gratification, right? And so if you're walking through the kitchen and there are those brownies on the table, the pig's coming out going, that's a good decision, but take that brownie, take that and take your 3rd brownie for the afternoon. It's a great decision, but that's instant gratification. You have to know when your pig comes out. If you're about to walk into a conference and you don't know anyone there, you know not one person, but you know you should be networking because it's a new industry that you're going into or whatever it may be, the ape will come out, and that is avoid painful experiences. And so the ape will say, don't walk into that room, just don't attend the networking event, too painful to be rejected. Be aware when the ape comes out. The other thing you have to be aware of is a beach ball. If you throw a beach ball in the air, Cam, and I look up at it and you say, what color is it? I think it's blue. But the person on the other side of the ball says, no, Emmett, it's red. And that person says green, and that person says yellow. We are all right. And by working together, we can describe the object in the air better than by ourselves. Why? Because we've got diverse perspectives, and together we're coming together to call out each other's blind spot. That's important, because without someone calling out your blind spot, it remains blind. And the final thing is ego. Be careful of your ego, and we all have one. And an ego will try and confirm that you are right? Here were the options. I'm in a room, I turn the lights on, and there's a window over there, and I think I put my foot through the window to get out of this room. And because it was my idea, I will have this bias towards my own idea because my ego wants to be the right one on making the call. Be really careful because it might not be the right decision. Then from there, decide on what your course of action is and execute. If it's a big decision, I then this is the final step. If it's a big decision, I lean on a method from the Pentagon and from venture capital companies and from IT firms that is called red teaming. And red teaming is when you make a decision to go through the window. We're going to put our foot through the window, smash it open, and we'll get out that way. Before we do it, because it's a big decision, we identify 3 or 4 people and put them in a red team. And look, bringing this back to business, it could be laying off people. It could be when you reopen. It could be how you reopen. It could be raising debt to do something after the pandemic. If it's a big decision, you ask the red team, okay, guys, take off the blue hat. You can have no blue. You need to put a red hat on and go into a room and come back in a day or come back in 30 minutes and tell us, why is this a bad idea? Kill the idea. The Pentagon referred to it as a murder board, where they get ex-generals to murder the idea of executing on a battle plan. And therefore, you put them in the perspective of working out, where is this weak? What could go wrong? Let's brainstorm it and make sure that we kill the idea before the enemy kills the idea. Or in the case of business, that we kill it before commerce kills it and we don't get our money back and our return on investment and so on and so forth. And so when I go into big decision making, you know, as simple as it is, I think of those visuals of the room, of the ape, of the pig, of the beach ball, of the ego, and of red teaming. And if I can run them through those gates, then I know I've done a thorough job of making a decision.
Wow, Ben, you're great. And I know this answer. So tell us about your master's program that you completed when we were together last year.
Oh yeah. You know, I'm a big fan of continued education. I think that I'm 42 years of age, and you know, I haven't been at school since I was 22 years of age, and I never got around to doing my MBA when I was in my late 20s. And what I did was I went out and looked at areas that I wanted to either turn from an A into an A+, i.e. enhance my strengths, or get my weaknesses and take them from a D into a C. You know, it's very hard to make a weakness an A+, let's be real, but getting it up to a C means that you can pass. And so I went out, I did an executive program at UCLA, which was a very broad program in business. And I did three 80-hour courses through Harvard where I picked different topics. One of them was disruptive strategy. Another one was negotiation. Another one was business analytics, like diving into business statistics. I love numbers, but I tell you what, you know, it can get very, very dry doing statistics. And there was some pain there, but I knew that in this world of big data that you know, the obstacle is the way. And so I went off and poured myself, you know, 80 hours into business statistics and came out with some really good insights. And now I understand business analytics better, which again, when I'm using analytics, it helps me make a better decision. And right now I'm doing one during the COVID period. I signed up with one through Columbia, an online course, which is about 60 hours. And that's on value investing, the Warren Buffett way, and looking at companies and how to really value a company and enhance the value of a company in a very, very methodical and deep way. Not because I'm going to be a value investor necessarily, just because it will build my toolbox. So when I'm looking at my own business and other businesses, I can grab those tools and apply them and understand what options I've got.
Man, you're a great example and inspiring and all of that. You've been a great friend and somewhat of a mentor to me too in our short time together, but I appreciate you spending time, and I appreciate Jason Gottlieb, who's my contact with Myzone. He does a great job for us and always available for my team and stuff. And so I wish you all the best on the backside of this, and don't hesitate to call if I can do anything for you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Cam, and I hope to see you in the flesh very soon.
Let's do it. Take care.